guys and goddesses, welcome back to my channel, TheTarative, and thank you for stopping by. So as the title of this video suggests, this video is going to be all about my birth plan, so I will be sharing with you the details of my birth plan for hopefully what will be the ideal labour and delivery. We'll just have to wait and see if my birth plan actually goes to plan or not, but I will be sharing those details with you. Also in this video I will be updating you with regards to the last few weeks of my pregnancy, so that will cover weeks 35 to 38 of pregnancy. Actually most of the things have to do with body changes, and so I will be showing you the main thing that's changed, and that is my bump. So if you would like to see what my bump currently looks like, then do stay tuned to the end of the video. Before we actually get into the main part of the video, I do just want to thank each and every one of you who's been supporting this channel. I really do appreciate it. I know it's been a few weeks since I actually posted the last video, and that is just because I've been super duper busy. I only finished work in the last week or two, so I'm now on maternity leave. But since being on maternity leave, I've still been really busy, also getting a little bit more tired, but I'll be talking about that later on in the video. But we've just moved into our house in the last few days, hence the different background. As you can imagine, getting near the end stages of pregnancy and also moving into a new house, that is quite a busy time, so I haven't actually had time to film up until this point, so I do apologise for the delay, but thank you for staying with me. Also as well, at the last video I posted, I did mention we're about to hit 40,000 subscribers, which we have now done, so again, thank you for everyone who has been subscribing recently, and for those of you who have stayed subscribed, really appreciate your support. I'm going to set a goal for this channel. Let's try and reach 50,000 subscribers, so those of you who are new to this channel and would like to support or would like to see more videos from me in the future, then do remember to hit that subscribe button down below. If/when we hit 50,000 subscribers, I would like to do a special video to celebrate and commemorate the event. So if you have any suggestions or any video suggestions, anything you would like to see either for that special video or just in general from me, then again, please leave those suggestions in the comments below. I do read through the comments and I do try and reply to each and every one of you, but I will take on note anything that you would like to see in the future. Now, before I continue rambling, let's just get into the main part of this video. So it was actually the 36-week midwife appointment in which we discussed the birth plan for the first time, and this appointment was special in a couple of ways. First of all, it was in a different location to the location of all my other midwife appointments. All my midwife appointments up until the 36-week appointment has been in my local GP surgery, but this midwife appointment was actually in one of the rooms at the birth centre at my local hospital, which is where I plan to give birth to our lovely little girl. So that is the first question answered with regards to the birth plan. Yes, I do plan to be at the birth centre of my local hospital to give birth. And also as well, what made it special was the fact that my husband Dan was with me for the first time. Up until now, there probably wasn't really much point, not in a harsh way, in being at the midwife appointments, as they just do general checks and I'll update him about that. But because we were actually going to be at the place where I plan to give birth, I thought it was really good for him to be able to come along with me, check the place out, and also be part of the discussion of the birth plan, just so I didn't have to have a separate discussion with him, and so he's aware of the ideal situation or the things that I would like to happen during labour and delivery. So it's really great having him there to be part of the discussion as well. So, the midwife asked me a lot of questions with regards to pain relief and what I'd like the labour and delivery to look like. So actually, there's not really much to this birth plan. As I said to the midwife, this is my first child. I don't really know what labour and delivery is going to be like. It could be short, it could be long, it could be quite painless, it could be really painful. I'm expecting the really painful part, but some people handle it better than others. I don't know how I'm going to handle it, but I have an ideal situation or an ideal plan that I would like to follow. But I did say that is really changeable. I'm not 100% stuck with that idea of how that birth plan is going to be, because until I'm in the actual situation of having contractions and spending hours in labour, I don't know how I'll feel. But ideally, I don't want to really take anything with regards to drugs for sort of the pain relief or the medication, and that includes gas and air. I don't really want to try gas and air. Ideally, I would like to stick away from diamorphine and just tablets in, that's an injection I believe, but also tablets. I would like to stay away from that, and I really would prefer not to have an epidural. Now, if in the situation that for whatever reason I would have to have an emergency cesarean, now they would either give you an epidural or spinal block. So yes, if that has to happen, then I'm obviously not going to refuse it. I'm going to do what they suggest is best for the baby and me at the time. But ideally, I'd like as much natural delivery and labour as possible. However, there is one thing that I am planning on doing, or I suppose two things that I'm planning to do for pain relief. One of those is actually using a TENS machine. Now, for those of you who don't know what a TENS machine is, it's a small little device that has 4 wires connected to it with little pads that are basically electrodes, and you stick those to certain locations on your back or your lower back area, and you generally want to start that when your contractions start, and basically you're in control of these little electrical impulses that I guess, it's not really, I guess it's kind of like an electric shock. I know that sounds bad, but basically electrical impulses get sent from the machine to the electrodes, and it just helps interfere with the pain receptors when you're having contractions. So basically it's meant to take your mind and body off the pain of the contraction, and you're kind of focusing on these instead. Now, some people rave about these, they find them really, really useful. I'm sure other people have used them and them not being very effective. However, because I don't think of it as a very invasive type of pain relief, i.e. nothing that you have to take and nothing that gets ingested or processed by your body, that just really, really appealed to me. I have actually got one on order and it should be coming within the next couple of days. I didn't buy it outright. I did actually hire it from a Boots store. Well, not from a Boots store, but Boots online. They do a few TENS machines that you can hire or buy. So I have got, I can't remember the name of it. I can leave it somewhere or a link to it. But basically it's £40 and you get it for 4 weeks. If you need to, if you are going late, you can give them a call before the end of the 4 weeks and say, actually, I'll probably need this for another 2 weeks, and that's at no extra cost as well. But they basically deliver it for you being 37 weeks pregnant. Well, I didn't actually order it until 38 weeks pregnant. So now I'm currently 39 weeks and 1 day pregnant. So hopefully it should arrive in the next couple of days. I don't think I'll be going into labour before that, so I'm sure it will be fine. But yes, I do plan on using that. Now, hospitals do actually usually have some TENS machines, and I did ask the midwife if they had a certain amount of TENS machines there, or if they have a TENS machine per room. She did say they only have a select few. However, often the wires or the leads have been stolen or used for other things, and so she suggested if I had a friend who had a TENS machine, or if I could hire one, then that was the best thing to do. Also as well, generally you'll be at home for quite a long time, or wherever you are, going through the early stages of labour before you actually are admitted or before you go into the birth centre. And she said actually the TENS machines tend to be more effective if you use them from the start of your contractions, so in the early stages of labour. Apparently it's just more effective as your labour then progresses and the contractions get worse. According to her, that most people find it better if you just use it from the get-go. So that was really useful, and I thought, well, I'd rather be safe than sorry, because that's really one of the only methods I really want to use for helping with pain relief. I just wanted to make sure that I had one. So I hired one. So that is the main part. Also as well, in the birth centre, I can't remember if I just mentioned this or not, complete baby brain going on right now, but each room in the birth centre does actually have a birth pool. Now, I don't actually want to give birth to our baby in the pool, however, I find water generally quite soothing, and so if I'm either finding that the TENS machine, I'm not getting on with it, or nearer the end stages of labour, take the TENS machine off, I would quite like to be in the pool for a little bit of time, as I think that will ease me and make me feel a little bit more comfortable. But when it comes to actually giving birth, I would like to give birth on dry land. So to be honest, that mainly sums up my birth plan. I'm just going to be going with the flow, but ideally I don't really want to have any interference with regards to pain relief apart from using the TENS machine and also using the pool. Now, they do suggest you being quite active and quite mobile during labour, which is what I want to do anyways. I don't really want to be stuck on my back, first of all because it's quite uncomfortable laying on my back, but I would like to be walking around a bit. I think, or at least, as I said, I don't know what it will be like in the actual moment, but I think I'll be most comfortable giving birth either in sort of like an all fours position, or being somewhat half standing / leaning forward or squatting. I think for me that's just something I'll find most comfortable and to take the pressure away from my back, and also I just think that will, gravity hopefully will help just bring her out a little bit more easily. So yes, that's mainly the birth plan in that aspect. So I know it's a little bit short and sweet, but yeah, that pretty much sums up the birth plan. Now, one thing I want to mention, they do talk about skin to skin, and then also breastfeeding, and what was the other thing? Oh, placenta delivery. So they do encourage, or basically at this birth centre, they encourage having skin to skin for a minimum of an hour before they start interfering or coming back in. So they will leave you alone with the baby, obviously after they've done all their checks and things, with the baby on skin to skin, and they encourage you to start breastfeeding, which is absolutely fine. I do plan on breastfeeding anyways, so that was completely within my ideas, and they just suggested that. But to be fair, they don't actually mind if you don't breastfeed, as long as your baby is getting some food, then that's all they really care about. But yes, if I can and if it's successful, I do plan on breastfeeding. So that sums up that part. Now, with regards to the placenta delivery, I didn't realise there were different placenta deliveries that you could experience. I know that generally the placenta comes out about 40 minutes to an hour or so after you give birth, but if it weren't coming out or part of it didn't come out, then you'll have to have interference from either one of the midwives, or if it gets severe, you'll have to have it removed by a doctor, i.e. surgically removed. But I didn't realise that there was another method. So basically there's two methods, and that is either letting it come naturally, as long as it is coming naturally, and then pushing it out, or there is also a way to speed it up, which is an injection. I think they say they give it in your leg or somewhere, and they do that very shortly after you give birth to the baby, and then that's meant to speed up the placenta coming away from the uterus and then expelling the placenta. Obviously you still have to push it out and everything, but that's meant to then happen in 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I did say, well, if I've managed to have as much of a natural birth as possible, ideally I'd like to stay away from the injection. Obviously, if it got to that point where they were getting concerned, the placenta doesn't seem to be coming away by itself, that's when they would then basically say, okay, we're giving you the injection. If the injection then doesn't work, then you'll need to go to surgery to get it removed. But hopefully it will be as natural as possible, so I don't mind waiting that extra time for it to come naturally. Ideally, I'd prefer that over having interference and it coming quicker. So that covers that part. Now, basically, I'm just going to give you guys a very short and sweet update of weeks 35 to 38. The main thing really was actually the birth plan, hence why I was talking about that first at the 36-week midwife appointment. Also at that appointment, for the first time, we actually got to hear her heartbeat, which was really, really nice. Now, when we've had the ultrasound scans in the past, the 12-week and the 20-week, we got to see the heartbeat, and they said there was a heartbeat, but we didn't actually get to hear the heartbeat. But we did actually get to hear her heartbeat, which was really, really nice hearing it for the first time. So that was a really nice special moment. But she did also measure me and then feel for the position of the baby. So I did actually measure 36 centimetres, which was bang on track for being 36 weeks of being pregnant. So that was all great. Also as well, she did feel she was still in the head down position, and she has her back basically along my stomach, so she's facing backwards, which is the ideal position for giving birth. That's kind of the position, the easiest position for the baby to come out. So that was all good, and she did say that actually her head was very, very low down, and asked if I had felt the pressure of her being low down, which I said, yes, actually I have noticed that she feels quite low down, because when I go from sitting to standing, I do feel that pressure there. But also as well, our little girl does hiccup a lot inside of my womb. And I do find that I feel those hiccups quite low down around my crotch area. And so I said, yes, pretty much, she hiccups quite a lot, and I'm aware that her head is quite low down there. So that was all great. She also had a little feel, her butt was over to the right hand side of my bump, and then sort of the back kind of curving sort of around. So that's where I thought I generally felt most movement from her spinning as well, is generally her bottom or her back that I can feel go around the front of my bump. So yes, then the next midwife appointment was actually 38 weeks, and again everything was fine, urine was fine, blood pressure was fine, she felt my bump, again she was pretty much in the same position as she was last time, head down, back against the front of my stomach, so facing towards my spine, again ideal, and I did actually measure 38 centimetres, so again bang on track for 38 weeks, so that's absolutely fantastic. Now, as I mentioned, there have been a few changes since my last update video, and to be honest, the only changes that they really are body changes, one of which are that my feet and ankles are definitely getting swollen still, but also a little bit more so. For instance, today, I didn't do that much yesterday, but I woke up still with quite swollen feet, and I'm looking at them right now. They do look quite big, and I feel like I've got cocktail sausages for toes at the moment. Normally they're a little bit slimmer and long, but yes, I definitely have chubbed out in that aspect. I have also stopped wearing my wedding ring. As you can see, it's not on there. I had it in the last video, but one Saturday, I think it was when I was about 37 weeks pregnant, I'm thinking. When I got back from work, I could barely get the rings off because, again, my hands are a little bit swollen. So no more wedding rings on right now. Hopefully my hands and the swelling will go down once I've given birth and once the temperature gets a little bit better, i.e. it's been really, really hot recently, so I'm looking forward to it cooling down a little bit. But it is summer, so we'll just have to see if that actually happens, me probably just being a little bit optimistic. But yes, the heat definitely hasn't helped. Now, with regards to my bump, the main changes have been not only getting bigger, but I now have a lot more stretch marks. Now, in the previous video, and if you do want to check out the difference, I will be leaving the link in the description box down below for the 30 to 34 week update video, but at the end of the video I do show you my updates, and I did mention that I started getting stretch marks, mainly just small stretch marks emanating from the entry and exit hole of my surface piercing. It used to be around my stomach hip area, and again they're still there, but they have gotten worse, so I'll show you that as well. But it was mainly my hip areas that I noticed more stretch marks. Again, at that point they weren't really proper stretch marks, they're more of like little dimply bits from where they sort of start and then they get worse. However, I have now got, and this happened at 36 weeks, I have now got stretch marks on the bottom of my bump. It started off at 36 weeks on the left hand side of the bottom. I think half a week or so later the right hand side joined, but my left side is definitely the side that I'm experiencing the worst stretch marks on. Also as well, I think it was week 35 or so, or it might have even happened between week 30 and 34, but I can't remember if it did or didn't. I do actually have stretch marks now around my boobs, actually more so emanating from around my nipples, and they're symmetrical. Don't get me wrong, I love symmetry, but symmetrical stretch marks, great. So yes, I do actually have them running from the bottom of my nipples. There are two that just go sort of like that, and I do have a little bit now above as well. They're not anything major, they're not like massive or anything, but I'm guessing my boobs have expanded. I haven't really noticed any difference, but since stretch marks have formed, I'm assuming that they must have got a little bit bigger over the last few weeks, and obviously they'll just get bigger as I start producing milk after I've given birth as well, so we'll just have to see. I think that will probably be an area that maybe the stretch marks will get worse even after I've given birth, but again, we'll just have to wait and see for that. But yeah, the main thing is my bump, which is a bit of a shame, but to be honest, I did expect stretch marks, and I expected to get stretch marks a lot earlier on in the pregnancy than at 36 weeks, so I have to be grateful that I've only started actually getting them in the last 3 weeks, but I have noticed them getting progressively worse, and I think that's obviously just because my bump's getting bigger, she's still growing well, and my bump's still growing, so the stretch marks are only going to get worse. I do still moisturise every day, and hopefully they will settle down, but they are quite red, and especially the left hand side, as I said, that's kind of the worst part. So I am now going to show you what my bump looks like. So this is what my bump looks like underneath my dress. I am currently 39 weeks and 1 day pregnant. So very nice and rounded. I do have pyjama bottoms on, so I can show you what it looks like. So that's the front, that's the right hand side, and that's the left hand side. Now, as you can see, the stretch marks have gotten progressively bigger and thicker from where my surface piercing used to be. And if I just go on my tiptoes slightly, you can probably see those lovely stretch marks that have appeared this side. So that's the left hand side, and that's the right hand side. As you can see, the right hand side isn't as bad, or as many stretch marks as this left hand side. And then my belly button still pokes out, probably pokes out a bit more now. So that's quite funny. But also as well, I've noticed today that the stretch marks on my hip areas, there seem to be a few more. They're not really like loads of lines of stretch marks. As I said, they're more just dimply bits on this side, and the same on my left hand side. But again, I think the left hand side just seems to be worse than the right hand side. But yes, so they're my nice new stretch marks. Luckily I haven't got them on the top of my bump. We'll see if that changes. I guess it'll just depend how big I get over this next week or so, or when she decides to arrive. I'm assuming that if I go later, nearer the 42-week mark, I'll probably get a lot worse stretch marks. But I can see some of them just around here. So I can't actually see the bottom of the stretch marks, because when I bend over, as you can see, I just can't see. I can only really see from this point upwards. So I noticed those in the mirror for the first time at 36 weeks. So yes, just very, very rounded. So that is what my ever-expanding bump looks like at 39 weeks and 1 day of being pregnant. Now, I don't know when I'll actually give birth. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it's only 6 days until my due date. I don't think I'll give birth before the due date. I feel like she's low down, but I don't feel that I'm going to be going into labour anytime soon. In my head, for some reason, I think that she'll arrive about 40 weeks and 3 days of pregnancy, or 41 weeks and 3 days. No idea why, I've just got those in my head. But I would love to know your predictions of how far along I'll be. Also as well, predictions for weight. I'd be really interested to see what you guys think she'll be. Just so you know, when I was born around my due date, I believe my mum said, and I weighed 8 pounds 11 ounces, and my brother was getting on to about a week and a half late, and he was 9'3". Now, Dan, my husband, he was around 37 weeks when he was born, and I believe he was about 6 pounds 6 ounces, so definitely quite a bit smaller than my brother and I, but I think she'll be about 8 pounds 5 ounces to 9 pounds if she doesn't go too far over the due date. So I think if I give birth around the 40-week mark, i.e. sometime next week, I think she'll be probably between 8'5" and 9, maybe even 9'3", but I don't think that she'll be a very light baby. I'm just going off what I was, and I just think she'll be somewhere around that, really. But let me know your predictions in the comments below. If you do have any questions whatsoever, then again, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer. I'm not sure if there'll be another video regarding to pregnancy between now and giving birth. We'll just have to see. If I'm giving birth at 42 weeks, then there'll probably be a 40-week and a 41-week update, but we'll just have to wait and see. But either way, I shall see you guys very, very soon. Again, thank you all so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. Remember to leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and for those of you who are new and would like to see more videos from me in the future, then remember to hit that subscribe button down below. Okay guys, thank you again. I shall see you very, very soon. Bye for now.